Hey, I'm Stephanie, and it's time to stumble into style. Welcome to Signature Style Sunday, my weekly web series in which I document my attempt to distill personality into style using mainly what I already own. One of the goals of this style project is to try to gain control over the chaos in my makeup kit and my wardrobe and my jewelry box to create a more edited collection. If content like that sounds good to you, I usually upload one style video and at least one makeup video every week, so I hope you'll consider subscribing. For me, an ideal edited collection would be one in which every single individual item is perfectly suited to both my taste and my needs. I'm pretty well attuned to my needs by now. However, when it comes to my taste, I'm not quite sure what that is yet, and I think one of the reasons is simply because I like so many different things. Because of my very eclectic likes and the nature of my work as a performer, I've collected a lot of makeup and clothing over the years. And so this year, I'm trying to really focus on using everything I have to try to figure out exactly what my style preferences really are. And then I'd like to use that information to slowly and deliberately declutter the items that don't suit my taste. But here's the thing. If I want this project to be effective, I can't be bringing new items into my life. I have enough decisions already with the things that I already own. So I'm on a low buy, meaning I've chosen to drastically limit the things I'm willing to purchase this year. Today's video is my first check-in about my low buy experience. If you'd like a detailed introduction to this project, or you'd like to hear about the rules that are specific to this no-buy, then I'll be sure to link the video in the show notes in case you want to check it out. But if you'd rather just jump into this update, then stay tuned. One quick housekeeping note before we begin. My chair broke this week. I'm still using it because it's here. I have a note into the company. I'm trying to get it repaired, but if you notice my height changing throughout the video, that's what that is. Now that that's over with, let's get into the actual topic of this video. I wanted to begin today by actually talking a little bit about current events, simply because I feel like that has a lot to do with the way I'm thinking and feeling about my low buy. However, I know that I personally often watch YouTube as a form of escapism. So if you'd rather not hear about this, I have listed some timestamps in the show notes so you can simply skip this part and move on to the lighter stuff. When it comes to current events, I think a lot of us are feeling unbelievably sad at what's happening. I think every single conversation I've had recently has at least touched on the war. And here in mainland Europe, the conversations don't just focus on the plight of the people or what the refugees are going through or how we can help, but increasingly people are kind of mentioning their worries about the war expanding to include more of Europe. And I know that there's this little tiny but very persistent voice in the back of my own head that keeps whispering things like, if things escalate, you might have to leave home really fast. What are you going to pack in your one bag? And I mean, that's always a scary thought, but it's kind of shocking that I'm having that in this day and age. I just finished building a beautiful recording studio. It's basically the culmination of 18 years of scrimping and saving and blood, sweat, and tears kind of hard work. And if I had to leave that behind from one day to the next, it would break me. So I can't even imagine what those millions of refugees are going through. They're not just losing the lives that they were working so hard to build, but they're losing their loved ones and their homes and their country. And it's just heartbreaking. Normally, in a situation where I really can't control anything, I would just turn off the news. For example, a couple of months into the big C, I realized I should just become a hermit and never leave my apartment, and then I can just turn off the bad news and focus on my work. So that's what I did. And I wouldn't call it the best of times, but I mean, it worked. I was fine. But now I feel like I really shouldn't turn off the news, because the international stage is turning into a bit of a powder keg, and I'm living at the heart of where it could possibly go boom. So I feel like it's only wise to keep up to date on all the latest developments. And maybe everything here will be fine. In fact, there's a decent chance that everything here could remain fine. It's just the part of my brain that needs to keep aware of those other possibilities that's kind of stressing me out right now. The reason that I feel like this is relevant to my low buy is because I have been known to use shopping as a form of escapism in the past. For example, I was going through a long phase where I really wasn't buying much of anything, never mind like clothing or makeup. And if I was purchasing cosmetics, it was like a replacement mascara or concealer, but it wasn't anything like exciting like eyeshadow palettes. Then I had surgery and I was laid up for months. And to escape from the pain and the boredom, I started online shopping. And at first it was just innocent browsing, but several weeks into my recovery, I started purchasing things and I went a little bit crazy. I have to say, I'm still really enjoying playing with those color cosmetics that I purchased during that phase. But if I'm being honest with myself, I didn't need any of those things. And that phase of overconsumption is one of the reasons that I currently don't have an edited makeup kit. So I'm glad I currently have a no-buy in place because it means that I can't try to soothe the sadness or stress I'm feeling by purchasing pretty things that won't actually solve any of my problems. But what I find surprising is how easy it is for me right now to not use shopping as a self-soothing mechanism. And I think it's a combination of a couple of different factors. One is that work is just really busy right now, so I don't have the time or the energy to even want to think about shopping. The second thing is that there haven't been that many recent releases that have like really sparked my interest lately, so like that's been manageable. And I think the third thing is just a combination of inflation plus that dark little voice in the back of my head telling me I need a bug out bag. And that combination is just a total buzzkill when it comes to the thought of trying to acquire anything at all. But that doesn't mean I've been completely immune. So I thought I would talk about some of the things that have been tempting me today. The first thing is warm, fuzzy slippers. I currently have a really old pair that I absolutely love. They're handmade shearling booties that come like halfway off my calf, so they're almost like boots. And they are so comfortable. And they're really warm in the winter, but they're so breathable that I can wear them in the summer too. They're just like magical little booties. But they're also 13 years old and they're really ratty, which is why I'm not putting a picture of them up on the screen because I don't think anybody wants to see these things that I've been living in for the past 13 years. But one of them started to rip down the back. And when I tried to repair it, I weakened the material, and now it's ripped even more. So like the left booty keeps like falling off when I try to walk. And then the right booty, like some of the lining is starting to wear out. So like my toe gets stuck like in a hole in the lining. So like I've been wanting to replace them for a while, but I cannot find this artisan guy online. And I'm not even sure if he exists anymore because I think he only sold his wares at festivals. So, I've been looking online for like an equivalent, and I found a pair that looks like it would be nice. Like they're not as cool or as nice as the ones that I have now, but they look very nice. And so I was thinking of buying them. And to be honest, I don't think it would go against my low buy to get them because I allowed to purchase replacements. However, I can still get by with these. Like it's not an absolute necessity that I get new slippers. And so I feel like in the spirit of my low buy, I probably shouldn't purchase new slippers. So I think what I've decided is if it comes to the point where the left booty slips off so much that it's actually dangerous, like I'm at risk of tripping over it, then I think that's the point where it could be justified to buy a new pair. So I've resisted the temptation so far. And the other thing that has been tempting me is pastel eyeshadow palettes. Hindash just released one. Natasha Denona just released one. And they're tempting me because that's a color story I don't have. And I don't know that I could create a true pastel color palette with my singles because I've never really... I'd have to take a closer look. I've never thought of my singles as pastels, but I do know that I at least have some pastel purple. So maybe I have some other ones in there that I'm just not thinking of right off the bat. So maybe I'll have to build my own palette. But I do know that I have one pastel purple in my 22 and 22 Project Pan right now. And I have to say, I've been having so much fun with it. Like I've been really loving the looks I've been making with it. And it's making me lust after pastel pinks and peaches and teals and greens and yellows, which is why I think if I were to purchase a pastel palette, it would probably be the Natasha Denona one, simply because that one has a couple of different colors and finishes in it. So I think it would just expand my horizons more. I've watched reviews for both the Hindash and the Natasha Denona palettes, and both of them look scrumptious, but I've stayed strong. And I think one of the reasons I've been able to stay strong is because as much as I've been searching for like the perfect pastel palette for years, when it really comes down to it, I'm not sure how often I would actually wear colors like that. Right now, I've been doing a lot of looks with that pastel purple shadow, and the reason is because it is a focus shadow in my project pan. The question is, would I really honestly reach for it that often if it was just sitting in my makeup bag and not part of a project? Because to be honest, I don't think I'd be reaching for it nearly as often. I mean, it's beautiful, but that's just not one of the colors that I gravitate towards unless I'm doing something very specific for like a video or something. And so I'm going to have to take a look and see how often I reach for it when it's no longer in my project pan, because I think that'll give me a more accurate feel for whether a pastel palette would actually be a useful purchase at some point in the future when I'm no longer on a low buy. Editing Stephanie here. I totally forgot that I wanted to give a brief update about any purchases that I've made just to make sure that I keep myself accountable. And I did make a beauty-related purchase this past month. However, it was also allowed within the rules of my no-buy, so I didn't break any rules. But just to let you know what it is, if you watched my last empties video, then you'll know that I used up all my eye makeup remover, so I repurchased some eye makeup remover. The iffy thing about the situation was that I bought two. Instead of just one. Normally, I would want to do like a one in, one out policy. But the reason I bought two is because my local drugstore doesn't always have this eye makeup remover in stock. And there's been times when I've waited for weeks for it to come back. So I figured they only had two left, so I would buy both of them and just save myself some time instead of having to go back and forth all the time. So that was that. But I don't feel like it was a bad decision because it's the sort of thing that I go through regularly because I wear eye makeup every day. And it's not the sort of purchase that I would consider like an escapism mechanism. Like this is the sort of thing that I just buy like I buy lettuce. Like I don't get excited about lettuce. I don't get excited about eye makeup remover. So I think it was okay. But feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments because the reason I'm doing this is to keep myself accountable. So all right, over and out. Thank you very much. Back to your regularly scheduled programming. And that, my friends, is that. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a wonderful week and that we can all remember that even stumbling can be a form of moving forward. So let's stumble in style.